All right, let's get this on the. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the Week 10 edition of the Sunday Sideline Report here on the SIN YouTube channel. I am Mike Rifkin. We may or may not get Danny Boy Reginald in. I'm not sure on his schedule at the moment. But we're going to dive into Week 10 as quickly, or not as quickly. We're going to dive into Week 10. We got a lot of news we're going to cover. We're going to cover the trade deadline. We're going to cover our second coach firing of the season. We do, though, have a game going on in Munich, Germany, and which we will get into in a second, as the Carolina Panthers are leading the New York Giants by a score of 10-0. The second quarter has just begun. Bryce Young, 7 of 9, 78 yards and a touchdown. That touchdown to Jatavion Sanders from 5 yards. Eddie Pinheiro just made a 53-yard field goal. But the Giants are driving. It's third down from the Carolina 33. Daniel Jones, another tough outing, 2 of 8, 22 yards thus far. But you know what? That's where I'm going to start. I'm going to start with this because living in New York, it's living in New York. You hear a lot about the Jets, the Giants, and other teams that are that's going on. And I want to start with this. And the thing I want to start with the Giants, because I hear a lot of things. There's a lot of noise surrounding Brian Dable. There's a lot of noise around Joe Shane. There's a lot of noise about a lot of people. I don't believe it is fair to criticize Brian Dable and Joe Shane for this reason. If you look at the New York Giants roster, it's probably a bottom 5 roster in the league. Let's be real honest on that. The only ones that may be worse, maybe New England, the team they're playing in Germany, in Carolina. So we've got a lot of conversation to go over, but I would say this. I think the one thing about the Giants is Dable's first year, they won 11 games. They missed the. Okay, so the Giants just missed a 43. Graham Gano missed a 43-yard field goal. So it is still 10-0 Carolina. So back to Dable for a second, and then we'll dive into everything else. Dable and Shane won 11 games their first year. And I think everyone wanted it to be the same thing consistently. They overachieved that first year, not just by winning 11 games. Let me be frank on that for a second. They won 11 games, and we're at the point right now where last year they struggled. This year they're struggling again. But what's been the constant in this? The struggles over the last couple of years? The answer is simple. Quarterback play. Daniel Jones has not been great. They made the decision to sign Daniel Jones long-term and franchise Saquon Barkley 2 years ago. Barkley leaves. He goes to Philadelphia. We'll get into them later for sure because they had a huge game today. And they said, look, basically to Saquon, thanks. We're not going to pay you what you think you're worth. See you later. And they paid Daniel Jones 4 years, whatever it was, 120 million, whatever it was. Now, they can get out of that contract after this season. There's an out in the contract, which they will do 1,000%. Question is going to be, who's going to be the quarterback? Are they drafting a guy? Are they going to bring in a guy who, via maybe it's a trade, maybe it's free agency? But I would say this. I don't think it's fair to attach the Shane Dable issues. And this team has a lot of issues. They now have a number one receiver, Malik Neighbors. Tyrone Tracy looks like a fairly good running back. Defensively, they've got some guys defensively. Kayvon Thibodeau played well before he got hurt. Brian Burns, I still love that trade from Shane. Dexter Lawrence is arguably the best defensive tackle in football. This team has some pieces on it. My guy. What's up, Dan? How are you, my friend?
Not much, dude.
Oh, I did not know if you were coming on based on what this week was.
Hmm.
I did not know how you were feeling.
Well, I was gonna be tired either way, so you know.
Oh, all right. Um, so I've started this show. I've started by talking about the Giants a little bit.
Uh, okay, well, they just missed a field goal, so
Yes. I have the game on the old phone.
yeah,
But what I was really talking about was Brian Dable and Joe Shane's future, because I don't necessarily think they should be punished in a sense because of what has gone on with this franchise. Because when they got there, it was still an awful franchise. They win 11 games that first year. And
yeah.
I'll be the first one to tell you, they lucked into winning 11 games.
Oh
If
yeah,
you
no,
that
that 22 season. Look, they beat the Vikings, but the Vikings were a bad team that year. Um, yeah, so the 22 was one of those years where they softer schedule, and they ran into some easy wins for sure. Um, John Mara's basically said that he's given them the vote of confidence, Shane and Dable. So I trust John Mara that he is making the right decision by keeping them in the franchise, that keeping them in the fold. He's going to allow Joe Shane to pick a quarterback in the draft. Look, not necessarily a strong quarterback class, but he's going to pick one. And then he's going to allow Brian Dable to hopefully turn him into some big time player in the NFL.
and in the NFC East, they're going to need that based on what Jaden Daniels is
Mhm.
doing in
Yeah.
Washington and what Jalen Hurts, who the Philadelphia Eagles have once again established. Again, we'll get into more into that in a little bit when we talk about the Eagles and the Cowboys. But just back to 22, and then we'll dive into some other stuff that we got to get into. Remember that year, week one, they play the Titans. They go for two to win the game at the
Yeah.
end there. gutsy call. Lamar Jackson has that weird fumble at the end of the game against Baltimore. So they did luck into some of that.
Yeah,
And they won a bunch of one possession games,
yeah.
which never translates into the following year if you know
Exactly.
football.
And the Giants, look, we're shitting on the Giants because they lucked into wins in 22, but they actually had some pretty nice wins too,
Yeah.
like, where they were very competitive. And Dable was more aggressive a couple years ago. He ain't that aggressive now. This team is not good enough to be that aggressive.
Right. You gotta know what you're working
You
with.
know? Yeah.
So yeah, that's the story of the Giants. Again, we will update you as they are trailing the Panthers 10-0 out in Munich, Germany.
Yeah.
The final European game on the NFL schedule
Yeah.
for this year. So, all right. So, what else we got to dive into? We'll get into the Thursday night game in a little bit, but I do want to dive into. We had our second coach fired this week as the New Orleans Saints fired Dennis Allen, who in 3 years was 18, or I guess 3 plus years, 18 and 25. The Saints started off strong, Dan, 2-0. They've lost 7 consecutive games.
He had to go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for those of you who were criticizing the Jets for firing a coach mid-season, well, you seem to like this decision, right? Just saying. And I'm gonna keep pounding it into people's minds about how hypocritical they are, for they have no issue with Allen being fired mid-season, but Robert Saleh being fired mid-season is a problem. And I don't want to hear about, oh, well, it's different because it was 5 games in instead of 9 games in. What? Dumbest thing I've ever heard in the world. But in any case, no, it had to happen. It had to happen because the Saints suck. They suck. They sucked with Carr. They sucked with a whole bunch of quarterbacks they had. I understand they're a little banged up, and that is the truth. They are a little banged up. But for the most part, they've been fairly healthy. In a weak NFL, and they're 2-7. Sorry, that you can't you're not gonna keep coaches and players this way. Teams cannot stay together if they continue to lose the way that New Orleans has.
If only there was a way to know that Dennis Allen would fail in New Orleans. Oh, wait, he failed with the Raiders. Hey,
Exactly.
listen, I get it. The Raiders are a dumpster fire too of an
Yeah,
organization.
there are a lot of really bad
But,
organizations.
but
Yes.
here's the problem, New Orleans. I love your city. Never been. Love it. Love the idea of Mardi Gras. Let me tell you, I would entertain the beads so well. This has to be the start of a rebuild.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to be disrespectful. I say that because of this. When Drew Brees and Sean Payton left, that was your Woodstock. That was your greatest tenure as an organization with Sean Payton and Drew Brees. You went to 2 Super Bowls, you won one of them.
Yeah.
It's okay to admit, like, hey, Sean's gone. We're going to start this thing over. Drew's gone. We're going to start this thing over. Instead, what you did was you just carried on with Sean Payton's defensive coordinator, which Dennis Allen was, a bunch of veteran players, and you processed it and said, all we need is a guy to play quarterback. They have that guy in Derek Carr. And again, not trying to be mean to Derek Carr, but Derek Carr has always been average. Average. He's not elite. He's not terrible. He's average.
He's
He
injury prone
is
too.
he is serviceable.
He's
He
in,
is, you know, he
and he gets hurt.
and he gets hurt. You have an opportunity this offseason. I say that because the trade deadline now is come and gone. The only person I will give an option to on a trade is Cam Jordan because he's been there forever. If Cam Jordan doesn't want to go, Cam Jordan doesn't have to go. But guys like Honey Badger that I could get something for, Alvin Kamara, and the list goes on and on. The one guy I would hold on to is Chris Olave. And after the hit he took last week, I don't know what his future holds because he's probably done for the year with a concussion. But go out, search, scour for a coach that will help you in the future, and then pair it up with a young quarterback or something. And then let's accumulate draft picks. You know who the model you should look at? And I can't believe I'm saying this team should be the model anyone looks at because for years they stunk. Look at the Detroit Lions. That's the method. That's the team. You got to look at that model. You got to look at the Houston Texan model. By the way, that does not mean trade for Deshaun Watson. That does not mean go after Deshaun Watson there, New Orleans. I know you were in early on the last time, but don't do it. Talking about another guy who shot. But you're right, Dan. You were right. Dennis Allen had to go, and losing to the Carolina Panthers is just a cherry on top.
Yeah, a team they beat.
Team they beat week one.
You know,
Yeah.
they understand it. The team hasn't changed much, Mike.
No,
Unless I'm tripping.
no, you ain't tripping. Now look, they've had some injuries, but yeah, look, things happen. This is a team in an NFC South where we say it every year, anything can happen, but the Bucks are banged up. They still compete. Atlanta's pretty good. Give Atlanta that. But you were supposed to be that next team. You were the ultimate wild card in this division. And you started off 2-0 and you were the talk of the town. And then you just, no other way to put it, but you crap the bed. So that would be frustrating when I'm a Saints fan. It has to be the start of a rebuild, in my opinion, and we'll see what happens there. So Dennis Allen, second coach, fired after, as Dan mentioned earlier, Robert Saleh was fired earlier by the New York Jets. All
A month
right.
later, they're a month apart, and people are like, well, the Saints deserved it. They knew what they were doing. But a month earlier, oh no, it's a terrible move.
All right.
Me
Let's get
bias against the Jets, it's real. And the media is going to get a rude awakening because the people have spoken and they're still alive. We'll get to that soon.
they think they're still alive. They're still in that darkness retreat that Aaron Rodgers always talks about. All right. Thursday night, we had a great game on Thursday night.
And this is why the Jets are still alive.
This is really what they could thank the zebras. We'll get into it in a minute. The Ravens beat the Bengals by a score of 35-34. Lamar Jackson, 25 of 33, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 68 yards and a touchdown. Tylan Wallace, 3 catches, 115 yards and a touchdown. For the Bengals, Joe Burrow, 428 yards and 4 touchdowns. And Jamar Chase, 11 catches, 264 and 3 touchdowns. What a game this was, but it came down to one play.
Yeah.
A 2 point conversion at the end of the game. By the way, I will say this. I agreed with Zach Taylor.
Thank you, Zach Taylor.
I agreed with his decision to go for two. Now here's where I'm going to get mad. I hate harping on these guys, but I have to harp on them. These referees in the NFL.
No.
I don't understand Mike Gesicki getting held off right off the line of scrimmage and there's no call. Joe Burrow gets hit in the head for the second time on the drive. There's no call. And Al Michaels, the legend that is Al Michaels, went off on these guys. I'm going to as well.
Yeah.
I harp on you guys because you want to get involved in every aspect and you think the people pay to see you.
Yeah.
But when there is an opportunity that there's an actual foul in front of you, we're going to put the flags away because the game was actually on the freaking line. And you could have cost Cincinnati a playoff spot with the lack of no call. Now, if Joe Burrow just throws the pass incomplete and there's nothing there, no one's going to have beef. But the fact that you missed 2 penalties on the same play is egregious. And it ties into another thing. If New York can change field position, if New York can do so many different things, why can't New York help you with penalties? I do not understand that. Sam, I am. Somebody explain to me why these refs absolutely stink.
They ain't gonna get that call. I'm sorry, Mike. I'm with you, but they're not gonna make those calls at the end. Come on.
Okay, if you don't call the holding, you got to give me the. And listen, I'm the first person to say I hate roughing the passer more than anybody. But this isn't one where it's a drive to the ground or a landing on him. It's a shot to the head. If listen, and I hate bringing him up because he's retired now, but if that's Tom Brady, there's 7 flags on the field.
Yeah.
Like to me, that's the one you can't miss. You don't want to call the holding, fine, don't care. You got to give me the rough and the passer. You got to give it to me because you call the stupid ones all the freaking time.
And that's the thing. The refs were terrible all night again. They missed calls. They had ticky-tack calls. Both teams got ticky-tack calls all night. So I don't feel bad, Mike. I'm sorry. I don't look.
No, I never said I felt bad. I don't say I feel bad, but I hate the fact that the game ends in that fashion.
But I don't because the Jets had how many times have the Jets been screwed by the refs? And how many times have I had to come on either SIP or this show where I'm like, what the hell's going on? Why are we making these calls? These are obvious penalty calls. More penalty flags are not coming out because of this. Like I can't, Mike. I can't. I'm sorry. I don't. I understand. You're right, but the NFL tells me everything I need to know about these referees.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you. I understand that the league has to, has whatever it is that's going on with these guys, but there has to be some sort of referendum because you're right. let me just get the numbers in before I blow a gasket again. So penalties in the game. There were 14 penalties in this game, just accepted. 11 of them by the Ravens. By the way, Baltimore, we're going to get into you. You still got some issues. But you could take your illegal motions, your illegal shifts. You
Mhm.
could take those. I'm going to say something here, probably not warranted, but you can take those and shove them. You can miss those. I don't care. You can't miss Joe Burrow getting hit in the head. Every week I hear we got to talk concussion protocol. We got to talk concussion protocol. We got to
Mhm.
talk about player safety. Well, Joe Burrow getting hit in the head by some 300-pound dude's hand, as
Mhm.
accidental as it is still the one you have to call.
Yeah. Well, the NFL's not calling roughing the passer like they should.
No,
And that
because
is a
roughing
problem.
the passer is the stupidest rule in the league.
Well, because it's not properly called.
No, but Dan, there's two reasons why. It's so blatantly stupid, all the rules we have for quarterbacks. But the two that should always be enforced are blows to the head and blows to below the knee. That's all you got to enforce. Body weight, I don't care. Driving them to the ground, I don't care. Enforce the head and
Mhm.
enforce the knees. And
Yeah.
if you need a reminder of that, just sing the song head, shoulders, knees, and toes, knees and toes. That's all these guys have to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I'm not saying that you're wrong, Mike. I'm just tired of having to continuously defend teams when teams do not defend the Jets. Because let's be honest, no one, if that were the Jets, they ain't getting the call, and no one shows any, there's no remorse, no one feels bad, nothing,
No,
nothing.
and listen, I get that. No,
So it's like, why should I feel bad for the Cincinnati Bengals?
no, you personally, you shouldn't feel bad.
You
This
know?
is just me being against the referees
Well,
of the league.
but I look, I've been all over the referees.
Yeah,
I'm always all over the referees
yeah,
because they're terrible. Yeah.
yeah.
It's a shame
It, it,
when it comes
it's
to this.
and listen, Al Michaels, who
Hmm.
is, in my opinion, the I think he's one of the greatest of all time. He was all over these guys at the end of the game too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he
Okay,
ripped them a big one too,
here's the quote.
and he never does that. By the way,
No,
never.
too many games end this way. They just do. You miss calls, the whole thing. So frustrating for the fans, so frustrating. Close quote. Al Michaels is right because we're not talking about how great of a game it was. Now, to be fair to the officials for a second, Cincinnati did blow a two-score lead in the second half, something they shouldn't have done. But we're not talking about that. We're not talking about the greatness of Lamar Jackson or the greatness of Joe Burrow. We
Yeah,
are talking about the zebras with the flags in their in their pants
yeah,
because they think the game has become all about them.
yeah. Or when they do fly out those flags, it's the same reason. The game's
Yeah,
about the refs. It's not about
the
whether or not
players or the
the
team.
players make the big plays. So that's the thing. I mean, and it's across all, well, maybe not basketball or hockey as much, but definitely in baseball, football, a
It's
lot of
around.
it.
It's
Yeah,
around in everything.
yeah.
And look,
Nothing
I
like we
don't
see
want
in
to accuse
football.
anyone of anything, but we don't know if these guys put in bets or anything. We don't know.
Yeah.
The leagues are in bed with these gambling sites. We're not. So, but what a freaking great game.
It's a shame. I honestly didn't think Joe Burrow he had no what another 4 touchdown night or so.
Yeah.
I didn't think he played that well though. I think he was a little sloppy, and the
He
Bengals
missed some throws. He did.
the Bengals offense wasn't as in sync as it usually is. So same thing on the Ravens side. The Ravens were not that good. Um, but of course they scored a lot of points because both defenses were trash yesterday. So it's like, you know, they lucked into a very competitive one.
Well, I'll say this for the Bengals. Look, they're going to need T. Higgins back at some point
Yeah.
because Higgins changes the whole perception because the way Mike Gesicki's played with Chase,
Awful, dude.
those three could create matchup nightmares for
Yeah.
teams.
Well,
They,
well, you think Jamar Chase had a great night? Oh, can you imagine if he had T. Higgins?
oh
Oh,
boy,
you could pretty much divvy up the offense just like that.
yeah,
So
yeah, and they had a little bit of an ability to run the ball. On the other side, look, Baltimore's got issues in their secondary.
yeah,
That was exploited by Joe Burrow. But here's the damn thing about the Ravens. They got this three-headed monster now. Lamar's legs, Derrick Henry's legs, and now Lamar throws the ball down the field. Zay Flowers
yeah.
didn't have a great game, but he's been a presence all year. Rashad Bateman being healthy, huge. And then what have they unlocked after starting off 0-2? Old reliable Mark Andrews is back.
Moving pretty well too.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for that.
Uh, so Baltimore, all of a sudden, if they don't get scared, and I think they got scared at times last year against Kansas City in the playoff game, based on how they called the game at times. With Derrick Henry, you're not going to be afraid because he'll pound it down, and then you get into play action and Baltimore so damn good. But the Ravens go on, they win. The Bengals fall to 4-6. Ravens, I believe, are now 7-3. And the Ravens next week will play the first place Pittsburgh Steelers, who actually, Dan, they're in your neck of the woods today. The Steelers are in Washington. They're going to play the Commanders in a game that'll actually be on TV in the New York area. So I am going to watch Jane Daniels today.
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna love what you see out of
I
him.
love watching them.
I mean, I know you're a big college guy, so I
I
know
am a college guy.
so I know you watched him play and you know what he looks like already. But no, dude, in the NFL, he's translating very well
Mm-hmm.
to the pro style offense. And I know it's Cliff Kingsbury running the offense, so part of it is college, part of it, is pro style because he has the best of both worlds. He's coached in both levels. Uh, but his adjustment to the NFL has been absolutely tremendous.
And that's where I want to go for a sec because I do want to give Cliff Kingsbury a little bit of flowers. He came in and he got Kyler Murray.
Mm,
And Jaden Daniels, for me, is a little bit of a bigger version of Kyler Murray with his ability to run, and he's got this huge arm.
yeah.
I mean, with guys like McLaurin and Zach Ertz, they are dynamic offensively. Now they won't have Brian Robinson today for the second straight week. He's out with a hamstring, but this is going to be a test. This is a really good Steeler front, especially TJ Watt. So it
It's
should be an
probably
interesting game. I'm very interested to see the crowd because I know the Steelers fans travel.
yeah.
One of my dad's buddies is a big Steelers fan. He'll be at the game today. So
Look, I mean, until the command, I mean, the Commanders, they're off to a tremendous start. I mean, I would expect the DC crowd to come out in full force.
oh, I do too.
Um,
I'm just for the amount. I want to see the amount of Steelers
but
jerseys
oh
there.
yeah, the Steeler, Steeler fan, they do it every time when it's the Jets and they're at MetLife. Forget it.
Yeah.
It's 80-20 Steelers. You know. So yeah, no, I no, I love Pittsburgh Steelers fans. They travel tremendously well.
Oh, yeah. So we got Steelers Commanders. That should be a fun one. Um, that's kind of the headlining 1 o'clock game. We also got the Niners and the Bucks,
Oh, excuse me.
which sparks the return of Christian McCaffrey today.
Yeah.
My fantasy team thanks him for returning, but that's a huge return for the Niners, and they're playing a Bucks team that's banged up. Again, no Mike Evans, obviously no Chris Godwin. He's done for the year, but the Bucks showed some fight Monday night against the Chiefs.
I think with this Niners team, they're in an interesting spot. They they're right now they're starting to get healthier and they're
Mhm.
facing a team that's banged up. It's sort of like the reverse of what they had to deal with um this season. And we already see this Niners team when healthy, they got some pretty damn good players. And all of a sudden the team looks so much better, the coaching looks so much better, right? So in that case, that's why I'm leaning towards uh a Niners win here. But then of course we can't just ignore the Buccaneers because the Buccaneers are so good. You know, they've been very competitive all season. And Todd Bowles, to his credit, and I don't like Todd Bowles as a head coach, but to his credit, he actually has gotten this team ready to go all season, no matter what the circumstances are. His defense has been tremendous at times, not all the time, but at times his defense has been tremendous. Like this team is actually, actually goes out there and plays.
Yeah, they
So
have not quit on him.
yeah. So and that's a great sign. That's a great sign from the Bucks. But I don't know. I think this Niners seems gonna be a little too much for them because they're
Yeah,
they're
Niners off
really
the bye. You're
yeah.
getting McCaffrey back. Yeah, I think the Niners might be ready to make that run. Uh, but we'll wait and see. We got an interesting one in Chicago with the Patriots and the Bears, and the only reason I'm bringing it up, you got the number 1 overall pick of Caleb Williams taking on the number 3 overall pick in Drake May, who to give him credit, Drake May's looked pretty good behind a
Mhm.
pedestrian offensive line.
Yeah, yeah. Can you imagine if he gets like star wide receivers that actually know what they're
Oh my
doing
god.
and then offensive line that could protect him? I mean, poor thing. Like, this guy's getting massacred out there at times, but he moves the ball well. Like,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I've seen from May is he actually he knows how to move in an NFL offense,
His
which is a great
mobility,
sign.
I think, is very something we saw a little bit of in college. I didn't know how it translate. It's translated well, his mobility.
Hmm.
So I give him credit. Caleb Williams has played fairly well for Chicago. But I'm going to say this, Matt Eberflus, the next time your team is trailing 29-9 late in the fourth quarter, you better take his ass out of the game so he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be on the unemployment line, pal. So we got Patriots, Bears. And then, you know what? We got a couple of 4 o'clock games. You know what, Dan? You want to talk Jets Cardinals?
Real quick, this is a huge for the Jets. If they really are serious about making a playoff run, I don't know how serious this team is about making the playoff run. I don't have the Jets winning today, um, because of that reason, really. If they're really serious, they have to come out swinging, and they need to really, really send a message to this Cardinals team. The Cardinals team that's actually very decent. Like I like this Cardinals team very well, very much. So they have to send a message quick, and they have to, absolutely have to come out swinging and put up some points because one of the things that I noticed about the Jets is that they always come out flat. I can't have the Jets come out flat anymore if they're going to win these games. These games matter too much.
There's a couple of things I'm actually excited for in this game.
Yeah.
One, the matchup of Sauce Gardner and Marvin Harrison Jr.
And hopefully Jeff Ulbrich realizes that and actually puts sauce on Harrison.
Yeah, let Sauce travel with Marvin Harrison.
Because I mean, and look, he hasn't played well all season, Sauce.
No, he has not had a good year.
He has not had a great year. Uh, but still, he's your number one corner. Like,
Darrell
period.
Reeve has traveled. That's all I have to
You
say.
know, like, and I have confidence in Sauce that he's not going to get absolutely beat by these wide
No,
receivers.
no. So I'm looking forward to that. Here's the question for me about this Jet defense. They set the run.
Yeah,
This
it's the defense. It's not very good when it comes to the run game. Their offense. I mean,
and
it's
this is not the
bad.
team you want to be practicing stopping
Yeah,
the run
I
against.
mean, well, first things first. If you can stop Kyler, they still have Connor, right?
They still
So,
have Connor.
so if you can stop the both of them, I think the Jets are in good shape because then they have to throw the ball, and their passing game's okay. I think the Jets have a better opportunity defensively if they could stop the run. But it's been tough for them to stop the run, and that has not changed all year.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm not really expecting that to change.
right.
But
And Arizona's got a three-headed monster running with Kyler, James Conner, and the rookie Trey Benson out of Florida State's done a really good job too. So Arizona's going to run the ball.
yeah,
So maybe you bring down one of the safeties at times, try to make Kyler beat you with his arm. And then, by the way, he could do that too. They got Marvin Harrison. Trey McBride is turning into a really good tight end too. So I'm very curious about that chess match. And then, listen, I have not watched a ton of the Arizona Cardinals this year. Just
oh no.
just given circumstance, they had multiple scapegoats this year. First one was Robert Saleh. He's gone. The other one's Alan Lazard. He's now on IR. And the other one was Mike Williams. He just got shipped to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So it's now apparent on Aaron Rodgers that you go out and you do what you were supposed to do, which is lead this team to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, there's no excuses for him at this point. We got you to win. So win. Go out there and win. Well, look, I knew we weren't going to get the Aaron Rodgers of old, but I knew we were going to get a quarterback that has a lot of experience. Of course, I didn't want him here. I would much rather go for a younger quarterback or figure out how to develop Zach Wilson, but that didn't happen. So Aaron Rodgers really has to, you know, lead this team he's getting some good connections with Garrett Wilson, which is a very good sign to see the sign. Um, Devontae Adams is finally starting to feel it a little bit with him again. It's been a while, so you had to give those two some time. Um, and Brees Hall has been tremendous all season. And this offensive line is actually, I mean, I hate to say it but with some key injuries to some key players, this offensive line has actually played much better over the last couple of weeks.
And they should be
So,
healthy today.
yeah, and it's more healthy today, absolutely. So then, you know, in that case, like they've actually played well. So they're protecting Aaron Moore, which is huge. So yeah, I like what the direction the offense is going. Really the big question is, can it stay that way, and can they be consistent?
Huh?
Um, I don't know. This is gonna be
This is a
a good
trap
matchup.
game.
But is it more of a trap for the Jets or Arizona? Because Arizona's the better team on record, but the Jets are the better team on paper.
I think it's a trap game for both, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I, I I think if you're the Jets, next week the Jets will be playing in. Jets aren't going to look
They're,
ahead. They play Indy next week.
Yeah, they're at
Arizona
home. That game was just flexed out as Sunday night, which I still don't understand why. But um, in any
and
case,
Arizona's on bye, so they're not looking ahead.
yeah,
So, um, but this might be because you don't see them that often. It could be a trap game. So, see what happens there. The other big 4:25 kickoff is an old school NFC showdown. Eagles, Cowboys.
and then this is the real 425.
This is the real game. And
This is the real game.
unfortunately,
Most
if you
most of the country's gonna see this.
most of the country's getting this, but if you live in the tri-state area, you're getting Jets
You
Cardinals
can
just like
Jets.
everyone wants you to get.
Uh,
But it won't.
I'm not in love with this matchup though. For either team.
Well, I especially don't love it for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
With the news that came down yesterday from Adam Schefter,
Uh, uh
which Dak Prescott's going to undergo surgery for that hamstring
yeah.
and miss the rest of the season.
I think my Eagles pick is looking a whole lot better.
Listen, some of us may have taken the Eagles with the points.
You know,
But look for I'll get into the Dallas portion first. Like I'm going to say this, and I don't know if he's listening, but old ops guy, if you're listening, I want you to think about this. Was last week, and I know people are saying they just paid him 60 million. Was last week the last time we saw Dak Prescott in a Cowboy jersey? I'm starting to think it may have been. I don't know who the quarterback of the Cowboys is going to be next year, but they're going to audition Cooper Rush. They're going to audition Trey Lance at some point too. And there is one team that'll be desperate to trade for Dak Prescott. That is a story for another day. But for today, they do get Micah Parsons back. That'll help their defense, but Philly's rolling. They've won 4 in a row, Dan,
mm.
and they've gone back to their identity, which is Jalen Hurts' ability to run the football. He's run for 159 yards during this winning streak and a ton of touchdowns basically off the tush push.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles. And actually, I've been shitting on the Eagles all year because they win ugly and lose badly. Um, Yeah, this is a really easy game for the Eagles. I'm sorry. Now that we know the situation with Dak Prescott, like, come on now, like, it, ground and pound with Saquon, and don't let who is it that replacing Dak again?
Cooper Rush.
It's Cooper Rush. Sorry. Um, don't let Cooper Rush beat you. If Cooper Rush beats you, then the Eagles are the ones that have the bigger problems because we know Dallas has major issues. They have major identity issues. The owner is has no idea what he's doing, and the coach is in disarray. He has no
Coach
game
getting
plan.
fired.
Like everything about this Dallas team is just awful. If you lose to the Cowboys with the way this team has been going over this past year, like Philly also has some major issues to work out. And the only team right now that could be smiling ear to ear, chilling, relaxing, all that stuff is the Washington Commanders. Because as of right now in this division, they are the most well-run franchise. Can you believe I am actually saying that?
No, no. But it shows you what competence from the top down does.
They
Because,
don't have coaches that rip apart the fans for booing,
well,
you know?
right. By the way, but both these coaches today, for a second, Sirianni, his in-game decision making is terrible. Whether it's going for a 2 point
Mhm.
conversion, going for it
Yeah.
on fourth down. Last week, the Eagles actually should have lost that game to the Jaguars.
Hmm.
He handed the Jaguars the game on the silver platter. And the Jaguars said, no, thanks. We are good because we're going to just tank for a lower draft pick. Other side of the ball, Mike McCarthy. Listen, Mike McCarthy's getting fired regardless of what happens. But also, in game, not a great coach at the moment. But the guy who should have replaced Mike McCarthy is actually coaching in Washington, and that's Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
And he's doing a hell of a job. And right now, at least for me, he'd be your front runner for coach of the year.
Yeah.
So by the way, this actually is a trap game for Philly because they play Washington on Thursday night this next week.
Yeah. Game that I have no choice but to watch. But yeah.
So figure Philly's figured things out. Dallas, they won't figure things out. Sorry, old Opska, you're gonna have to recover what reading Juan Soto rumors until he signs because the Cowboys aren't going to be worth watching. Oh man! All right. And then the other game we got tonight, we got a good one on Sunday night. We got the Lions and the Texans, and
Mhm.
this should be fun.
It should be fun. Not in love with Houston,
Not
but
at the moment,
but
no.
the Lions though. I mean,
Lions are the best team in football.
come on now. Like that's a damn good team. They're definitely better than the crummy Chiefs, who, let's be honest, the Chiefs are lucky because the AFC is so terrible that they can just walk back to the Super Bowl. It's so funny, dude. But yeah, no, the Lions are obviously the best team in the NFL. They have the best defense, they have the best offense, they have the best coach. You know, everything about this Lions team is just solid. Um, I think it's gonna be competitive though, because Houston can give you a
Houston's
competitive game.
while we're disappointed in Houston at the moment,
Yeah.
doesn't take away that they're not. They are a good football team.
Yeah. I mean, and look, they're coming off a loss against the Jets. They've had 10 days to mourn. And you know this team's gonna be hungry to want to win a game. So the Lions, there should be no reason to chill out. And just think a win's going to come to you. You got to play for it. And hopefully they do. I trust Detroit. Detroit, I think they're very, very good franchise, right now. They
and
win
who?
the right way. They're smart. They're a very smart team. And let's see, but I don't know.
By the way, who thought, you know 20 years ago we would say the Lions could be the best team of football in our lifetime?
Yeah.
No one ever thought that,
Yeah.
and here we
Cool.
are. They are the best team in football. Jared Goff is a real MVP candidate. They have two running backs who are legit with Gibbs and Montgomery.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra St. Brown is awesome. Laporte is a great tight end. And they've taken on the identity of their head coach in Dan Campbell. I mean, this team is so damn good. They are so damn fun to watch.
Yeah.
And by the way, both offensive play callers in this game, Ben Johnson and Bobby Slowick, both of them should get opportunities to be a head coach next year.
The Jets will be open, so you can both can come over here.
New Orleans now.
Yeah.
I
Um.
don't know
The
who. I'm not going to get into a
well,
preview of who else, but
yeah. Though I think the Jets should go in a direction that's a little unconventional, but we'll talk about that during the offseason.
no, you
Um.
know what? No, bring it up. Where do you want to go?
So my feeling is yes, Ben Johnson, slow 100% interview for the job. We love an offensive mind to run the team. Um, I'm thinking the Jets should have a president of football, and you have the head coach be like the GM, but really the president of football is the one making the final decisions. He's the one signing the paychecks, and the head coach is sort of like his right hand man and all that stuff.
Okay, I understand what you.
And that could be anyone. That could be Rex Ryan. That could be Ben Johnson. That could be whoever.
Okay, I thought you were going to get into who you wanted as the coach.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
that, or you have a head coach, and that head coach is the judge, jury, and everything, although the supreme leader of the football operation.
Kind of like what Bill Belichick was in New England.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right. But again, I'll elaborate more in the offseason because
No, that's fine. That's
you
fair.
know,
I was just very curious. So
yeah. But
the
I
way
think
that's
Ben Johnson should definitely be in the conversation. I love the way he runs this Detroit offense. And let's be honest, Jared Goff is better because of it. You can't just deny it. Like Jared, this is probably the best I've ever seen Jared Goff play. And I've seen this guy go to the Super Bowl.
it's true. We did see him go to a Super Bowl, but you're right. This is the best he's looked ever. Other side, C.J. Stroud. He struggled the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But he's really struggled with pressure in his face.
I I wonder if he's banged up too. A lot of these
He
players
might be.
because he's not moving very well. The Jets got to him, and the Jets have not been great with pressure all season. Um, I mean, I know they have Reddick now, so that may be helping a little bit, but the Jets haven't been great with pressure all season, and yet
No.
the pressure got to Stroud.
But he catches break. The Lions apparently will not have Zadarius Smith tonight. He's not ready to play, which I think is
That's
a
a
little
shame.
weird. I thought he'd maybe snap count him, but I listen. I'm not going to fault the Lions, which their defense was great last week in Lambeau.
Yeah.
Man, we got a good Sunday here, man.
Mm. Great
Lions
slate of games.
Texans
I'm
Sunday
pumped up.
night. We got the Eagles of the Cowboys. All right, Dan, who you guys your fantasy player of the day?
My fantasy player of the day. Um, It's gonna have to be Jalen Hurts against these crummy Cowboys. Come on,
Oh man,
it's over in Dallas.
it's over. It's
Something,
over at the OK Corral.
yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go with everyone's favorite cousin, Kirk Cousins,
Okay,
against New Orleans.
he's
He's been
good
great.
in a great spot too.
Yeah, Atlanta can make a statement beating New Orleans again, sweeping the season series from them, and putting their stamp on the NFC South. But before we go, two quick things. Old Apps, guy, we know you're home. Hope you're
Thank goodness.
recovering well.
Thank goodness.
Um, off of what happened. And a quick shout out to our friend Rudy Campos and Sweep the
Yes.
League. Those
Rookie
guys
Rudy.
crush it every night. Go check
Um,
them out on their YouTube channel. They're
well,
on every night around
I'm
9
thinking
p.m.
about
Eastern.
Rudy because of the Spurs situation with Greg Popovich. I I mean, just saying love to all those San Antonio Spurs fans.
Fight, Pop. Fight, man.
Yeah.
Fight, Pop. All right. You check us out every Sunday on the SIN YouTube page, youtube.com/sports insanity network. Socials, Twitter, Insanity Real. We're also on Facebook. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com for great blogs, vlogs, plays, trains, and automobiles. Dan, I'm Mike. We'll talk to you all in week 11.
Oh no.
Oh, man, this season's flying by. All right.
This part of the year's flying by too quick.
Dude, before you know it, we're talking who's on the nice and naughty list.
And who's watching that stupid ass Netflix game? Netflix, Mike.
Netflix. I'm not watching the Paul Tyson fight. I'm telling you that right now, Netflix. All right. Talk to you all next week.
Bye-bye.